Moving to a vote. Favoring, opposed, motion carries.
The next item is
Could we,
item.
Ms. Russell, if you hold for just a moment.
Yeah.
Item 46 was deferred until we could find an answer. And council member, and we'll show it to you, but it says, this form constitutes a government record as defined by section 37.01 of the Texas Penal Code. Submission of a false government record is punishable as provided in section 3710 of the Texas Penal Code.
Thank you. This is just an important process, and I wanted to make sure that it was, like you said, in writing there in front of us.
Ms. Russell, if we could go ahead and confirm item 46.
Okay, item 46 is an order.
Further discussion, moving to a vote, favoring, opposed, item carries.
Item 48 is an order.
Discussion, Vice Mayor Pro Tem Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. We've had an opportunity to meet with Pricewaterhousecoopers. Again, I'm not 100% sold on this. Consulting service. I don't know if the process that they're going to put forth will actually give us a baseline, is what they mentioned. As we move forward to get an understanding about our risk assessment. I believe our department to segregate, if you will, to have one policy for all the departments. And so, and furthermore, speaking with them, they have the generic 78,000 per 3 MWBEs, and I don't know if they're going to be able to. They have an idea of what they want to do with the MWBs, but it's not concrete. And so I don't want to have to come back to the table within a year and say, well, we didn't meet our goal, or we don't know. We gave one. So we have a maximum of 24%. We gave 1 20%, the other two 1%, 1%. I just don't think that there's a lot of clarity for me on this. I just think this is a difficult contract to enforce with Pricewaterhouse. So I have my doubts about this.
Councilmember Kuba.
Mayor, since this is a consulting service for the office of the mayor, can you explain to us what, from your standpoint, what is this all about?
This is a citywide risk assessment. As you know, I actually moved some folks out of the legal department over to the mayor's office to focus on risk assessment. The controller's office also does a sort of high-level risk assessment, but this is designed to look at potential big-ticket problem areas within the city. An example that I think most council members are familiar with is the issue of Medicaid billing. Through our ambulance service, we discovered problematic billing by the company that provided the service, and had to work our way back from that. We started out with a $20 million liability, and that liability has been reduced through aggressive action on our part to a much smaller amount. What we hope is that this contract will help us identify potential landmines in terms of risk management for the city. It's more about the another example is the EPA looking at excursions from our sewer system. Again, what is the potential liability? If there's a big ticket potential liability, are there things we can do in the interim to make sure that we're not exposed to that liability?
When does this contract expire? Are we in contract with them now?
No, sir.
Is there someone doing it now?
Yes, we have a two-person office reporting to me, which is insufficient for a city this size.
Okay, and this is nearly $1 million. Let me ask
It's
you.
1 year with it, so it's 3 years.
But
1 year with two 1-year options.
if we approve this, you're your administration's here 3 more months, and I respect that, but it's gonna fall on the next administration too. I mean, would they be happy with these folks? I mean, that's one of the things I'm wondering, you know, should we wait till the next administration to do it?
Councilmember, every one of us is here elected to do our job until the end of the year. None of us are gonna stop early.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem Gonzalez.
Mayor, I'm actually surprised that the city in the past hasn't done something so robust like this. I mean, considering how much exposure we could have in so many different areas, this would have risk prioritization, internal control reviews, policies and process reviews. With the number of grants and things that come through the city, I think we need to see always that we're doing things correctly. If not, again, there could be millions of dollars of exposure there. And so, you know, I think this is a good deal. I commend your team. They've gone out of their way to make sure they're updating council members that have questions about this. So I want to thank Lynette Bonds. I know she's basically a one-person show right now. So this consultant will help kind of give her the bandwidth to be able to touch on the departments. There's so many parts on a daily basis. We need to see what the training needs are of our employees and doing self-assessments and all that. So I think it's better to be proactive rather than reactive after the fact when it could potentially cost the city millions of dollars of liability.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And again, training is another area. I know there's been a lot of discussion within the fire department about training. The fire department makes its own assessment of training, but it might be appropriate to have outside eyes decide if there's from a risk assessment perspective, whether we are appropriately prioritizing training, for example. And I believe there were 5 or 6 companies that bid on this. We had a really good response. Councilmember Martin?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Maybe shed a little light, since I have a unique experience as I worked for Pricewaterhousecoopers for a number of years, and I also worked for a large global enterprise risk management firm. The number of bidders who bid, all of them are perfectly qualified. We're trying to implement something that corporate America has been doing for many, many, many years, and that is create an enterprise risk management function that gives you a look at internal controls, checks and balances to make sure that of the 23 decentralized departments that report into a budget process, that they all have similar tasks and similar duties to go down the same path. A lot of these things are pretty high level in nature, but the detail and the devil will be in the detail, as they say. But this is nothing different than any Fortune 1000 company does in America today. I looked at the companies who were participated in the RFP. Many of them very good. The company I worked for did not participate because I chose not to allow them because of a conflict of interest. But what I see in meeting with Councilmember Davis with Pricewaterhousecoopers was there will be a lot of processes that are identified to make sure that we're in compliance. Internal controls, the mayor mentioned HIPAA violations that we presently have. FAA things wrapped around the airport where we can develop things to preclude ourselves from gaining substantial penalties down the road. So this whole thing is a compliance and legal issue, and it's more of preventative medicine to identify a process and a plan to make sure that we don't get hit with larger penalties down the road. So I'm completely supportive of what they're trying to do.
Councilmember Stardy?
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with my colleague. As a former banker, I couldn't imagine not having this in place. 1099 reporting, I handled much of that in my early years, many years ago, and the penalties that go along with those processes are astronomical. So to at least have the due diligence in place and the processes evaluated gives us that opportunity to lessen the impact at the very least. So while it's a hefty price tag up front, it may be saving us tens of millions on the backside. So I appreciate this initiative, and